Against the Stanford Cardinal, coached by Tom Bellini, Ruben Lopez Martinez, Mitchell Sukup, and Carlos Hernandez Ojeda. Tonight's judges are Lynn Bowman, Greg Turner-Zarkarians, Walter Amarillo, and Dan Wood. Now, will you please stand for playing of our national anthem. And now, may I please draw your attention to the Jumbotron.
Good evening, everyone. We are streaming live from Virtius. We are at Haas Pavilion, where we have at Berkeley, California, where we have University of California hosting Stanford University. Thanks everyone for joining in tonight. I'm your host, David Jessen, former Stanford gymnast, and I'm accompanied by Dylan Shepard.
This is Dylan Shepard, and I am a current gymnast at the University of Illinois. And for the University of California, here are some stats from last year. Their average was 310.8, and their high being 315.45. Cal finished up ranked as the 8th best team in the nation last year, and they are looking to improve on this with 6 new freshmen joining the squad. And they are coached by Brian Del Castillo, Carl Zine, and Donathan Bailey.
For Stanford stats last year, they had an average score of 322.789 and a high score of 328.95. Stanford, they've been a powerhouse and won every NCAA from 2019 to 24. They were overtaken by University of Michigan just last year by a close margin. Sad for me coming as a former Stanford gymnast. But looking to kick off this season well here. Here we have Stanford's coaches, head coach Tom Gleamy, and assistant coaches Ruben Lopez Martinez, Mitchell Sukup, and Carlos Hernandez Ojeda. So currently we're getting ready for the first event to kick off. For those of you new to gymnastics, men's gymnastics has 6 events, and we go in Olympic order. Right now they're doing the 2-minute warm-up on the event before they get going. Olympic order for men's gymnastics, we have floor exercise, pommel horse, rings, vault, parallel bars, and high bar. In college, specifically here today, we have a dual meet format where the home team, University of California, is starting on floor, and the visiting team, Stanford, is going to start on pommel horse. They're going to flip-flop those first 2 events and then carry on the rest of the meet that way. We're going to have Lots of exciting gymnastics to see for you all today. Stanford being ranked second in the country was their final rank last year. And Cal's rank last year being 8th. So 2 highly rated teams going head to head today. Should be very fun, very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is going to be a really interesting matchup with 2, I think, relatively young teams, both kind of losing some seniors last year, especially Stanford. So they're going to be relying on some of those underclassmen to really pull the weight. But Cal's got some heavy hitters on floor. Their guy that will go up first, Trig Dudley. He won the CGA All-Star meet this year on floor. And if you guys don't know what that is, every year CGA runs a All-Star meet that uses guys who finished highly at the NCAA championships last year, and it also takes some guys so that freshmen can do it. They take video submissions as well, and that actually the CGA All-Star meet was helped created by Virtius and powered by Turn as well.
Super cool. And it looks like we're about to get the meet started today with our first guy up on floor. As Dylan mentioned, we have Trig Dudley here.
And Trig is a sophomore, like I said before, coming off of that CGA All-Star win where he stuck all of his passes, so hopefully he can try to repeat that here. He starts things off with a front double pike. Very challenging skill with just a little bit of a step backwards. Nice connection pass there, really utilizing those front skills. And good control on the wide arm press there. That fulfills his non-acro requirement for the floor routine. And just a small hop there on that 2.5 punch full. This is a really well done routine so far. And just a bit of a step forward on that double pike there, but a great start there for Cal.
Agreed. And as that last pass there, that's a new requirement with this code. You need to finish with a double flipping pass. We can talk more about that a little later. Right now we have Arun Chetri for Stanford on Pommels. Starting off with some scissor work. Oh, unfortunate fall there for Arun. That skill he was attempting is called the Busnari. He does what looks like a dismount. He goes up to handstand, but instead of coming off the equipment, was attempting to go back into a flared skill. Unfortunately, was a little bit off and couldn't get quite back to there. So, see if he repeats the skill or picks off. Fighting through this routine. It looks like he's doing a good job here. Just needs to hit this dismount. And overall, good finish for Arun. One thing our coach always said, once you fall, you try to spare every 10th once you get back up there, right, Dylan?
Yeah, absolutely, and he did exactly that. Unfortunately, had a fall at the beginning of the routine, which is even harder to come back from when you fall towards the beginning because you got a lot of routine left, but he managed to get through that, and that's going to help them in the long run with the score. And now on floor, we have Tucker Yasunaga. And as you can see, Trig Dudley's score came in at a 13-4, which is honestly a really strong start. A really high double front there, just a bit of a hop backwards as he goes into his scale, which is another requirement on floor. You have to have the scale or a different type of non-acrobatic transition, and all your transitions actually have to be different from each pass, which is a new rule this year.
Yeah, that's interesting.
He gets a good stick there on the double full side pass. Strong hold there on the press. Oh, and just a bit of a stumble backwards on that back double pike, but it looks like he managed to stay in bounds, so he will save a little bit on the score there. But overall, a good routine, just a few steps and hops there.
Yeah, good routine. Way to stay on his feet and stay in bounds, like you said, Dylan. For those who don't know, staying in bounds on or going out of bounds on floor with one foot is 1/10 of a deduction. With both feet is 3/10. So very important to try to stay in to maximize or minimize the amount of deductions you get. Next up on horse, we got David Shama. Fun fact about David, he recently competed in the Sokol Brno Grand Prix. For those of you that don't know, I competed for the Czech Republic and was actually born in Brno. And so it's a mixed pair meet they do every year. And David and a couple other Stanford guys got to go, and he finished on top. As you can see here by this strong performance on pommels, doing very well. And a great finish for David. Unfortunate hop there on the dismount, but overall strong routine, and I didn't really see many breaks at all.
Yeah, no, that was a great set. He really kept it going, and just a little hop there, which can happen from time to time when you get a little off balance on horse, but it was a good routine. And next up, we have Kaylin Curry on floor. The score for Tucker was a 12.85, so two strong routines for Cal there. Wow, and a big double layout with a full twist to start there. Just a hop back, but that is a really good skill. And a front double pike with just a little foot slide there. Two really big passes to open there. Oh, and right there he does a triple connection pass with a whip to a back 2.5 into a front layout. Very difficult there, but looks like he also managed to stay in balance with just a little bit of a stumble backwards there. Wow, and a double layout dismount. Just a little short on the landing, had to take a bit of a step forward, but that is a really difficult routine with some huge skills in there. So hopefully that can produce a decent score for Cal there.
And David Shama with the 13.75, well deserved. Next up, we got Marcus Kushner, pommel horse specialist for Stanford. Very difficult flop sequence there. The thing you notice with a lot of pommel horse guys, they have tall bodies to help them get a nice, good swing. As you can see here with Marcus. And he manages to hold it there and get the dismount. Very well done.
Still waiting on that score from Cal's last guy on floor, but yeah, that was Pommel horse routine with a lot of difficulty there, so probably expect a big score coming there.
As we're waiting for the next one on Cal. Cal's ranking, end of the year ranking on floor last year was 8th in the country. And Stanford's Pommel horse ranking last year was 4th in the country.
Yeah, 2 strong events to start out for Cal and Stanford there. And next
and all
up,
these rankings, all these rankings you can find yourself if you look up roadtonationals.com. Very useful source to look up the standings of college gymnastics.
Yeah, absolutely. And next up here, we're going to have Mateo Bardana on floor. He is a sophomore from Ontario, Canada. Oh, and a really difficult pass there. Double full, punch double front, and just over-rotated that front double full a little bit and sat down the double front. But that is a really difficult pass worth a point between those 2 skills. But manages to bring it back there on the front double pike. Very clean 2.5 punch front layout there. And he finishes things off with a strong double pike dismount, just a hop back there. Unfortunately, he had that mistake on the first pass, but it is a really difficult routine as well. And it's early on in the season, and I can anticipate that being a really big score coming in the near future.
And we have Kieran Mandava here on horse to close out Stanford. Executing beautiful swings here with his tall body. That was a difficult travel sequence right there. Beautiful routine by Kieran. So first event done here in Haas Pavilion. The format in college gymnastics, we have 4 up, 4 count, as you could see. That was a change only within the last couple of years. Back when I competed, it was actually 5 up, 5 count. So I'd say a little bit less wiggle room for mistakes and falls nowadays with only 4 scores counting instead of 5, but definitely makes the meet go by quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. And every year it feels like there's new rules being implemented, and teams have to adapt to that, and that can really change how the lineups look. Going from 10 skills to 8 skills, it can really benefit guys with some of the really high difficult skills in their routines, as well as dismounts. Just because, with less skills, you got to build up that difficulty score. And last year a big thing was the dismounts with how the way those got scored. But recently there's been a new change with those dismounts where it kind of went back to more of the older rule where you don't get as much of a benefit from doing super high level dismounts. So stuff like this is really where teams have to adapt to that and change routines, and a lot of times you find out these rules just, really soon before competition season. So it changes for sure.
It looked like they might have changed Yasunaga's score of Cal on floor. They just threw up his score again, 12.85. I didn't see what it was originally, if they did an inquiry or what. Kirmandava posted a 14.2 for Stanford. Great score. While we have this 2-minute touch going, I don't know if, Dylan, you want to kind of touch a little bit on how judges put together a score for the gymnast for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, with the recent changes in the last few years, we went from 10 skills to 8 skills. And on each event, there are 4 different element groups that the gymnast must achieve. Outside of floor, or each event has a dismount element group, except for floor, where there is just a double flipping dismount requirement. But all the other events have an actual element group for the dismount. And then there will be element groups 1 through 4. And the judge takes the 8 highest counting skills and then puts that together. And then if a gymnast is missing a skill in one of the element groups, then their start value is going to be lower. So, for instance, if a gymnast has, D and E level skills, so high level skills, but then they are missing, one of the element groups, like let's say on floor, if they don't do their non-acro element, which is usually like a press handstand or some type of flare or Russian there, then their overall score is going to be lower by 5/10 because each element group is 5/10. So you're starting at your 10.0, and then the element groups add 5/10 each. And then basically each of your 8 skills is added on to that for your total difficulty score.
Little complicated, as people might pick up on, but yeah, a lot that goes into it. Biggest thing, you're trying to get high difficulty, but also maintaining good execution. I think that's, name of the game there. Do as hard skills as you can with as little deductions as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And I wish there was an easier way of really explaining everything, but I guess, like you're saying, the best thing to look for is, that execution score. Usually, anything like 8.7, 8.8 and higher, typically, 1.2 to 1.3 off is a pretty good execution score. And the difficulty scores in the 15s or higher is going to be pretty good as well.
Mm-hmm. So we got Cooper Kim here starting us out for Stanford on floor, showcasing his difficult tumbling. Very pretty double layout, good form in the air. Very unique non-acro there. That was a double twist to a prone position. I don't know if I've actually ever seen anyone do that.
Yeah, you're going to see a few more guys doing skills like that with the new non-acro requirement. And
a good double pike to finish there, yeah, with Just a little step on the landing. Overall, good routine for Cooper.
Yeah, and first up on Pommel, we have Trig Dudley again, who had a 13-4 on floor, so looking to build off of that really strong floor start. Really clean handle work there with a nice D flop. Good travel work as well. Oh, and right there, gets the handstand up, but falls the wrong way on the pirouette. So we'll lose just a little bit there. But they'll give him a C dismount for that instead of the E. But honestly, a really good routine up until that point and should still produce a good score.
And we're still waiting for Cooper Kim's score on floor to come in. So you mentioned 4 element groups on every event. What are the 4 element groups on floor, Dylan?
Yeah, so for floor, you have your group 1, which would be your non-acrobatic skill, like your press or your flare skill or your Russian, which is almost like a pommel horse type element on the floor. And then as well as that, you have your front or back twisting, which to get full value, you need to have a D front or back twisting. And then you have to have a D forward skill, which, because there is which would be basically like a double front. And then you would also have your D back flipping skill, which a lot of these gymnasts are doing the back double pike for that dismount. And even though there's not a dismount element, they have to finish with a double flipping dismount.
Great, thanks, Dylan. Right now we're watching June Eway of Stanford on floor, performing very difficult tumbling. June, actually a member of the current senior national team for USA. And along with June, Stanford also has Asher Hong on the senior national team. And Stanford also has 4 alumni that are on the national team. So a lot of big names that have trained and currently do train at Stanford. Oh, and almost a stick there, and a difficult dismount too. Double twisting, double back. A lot of people do as one of their first passes.
Yeah, next up we have David Comparin on Pommel. The score for Trig Dudley was a 12-8, so a pretty solid start, even with a little error on the dismount there. Very nice travel work. He does the Tong Fei into the Magyar Salvato. Bit of a struggle there on the dismount, but manages to save it up to handstand. Not sure if what the judges will do with that, but he may have to repeat that dismount. But up until that, great routine overall. And it looks like he is going to repeat that dismount, meaning the judges didn't give him credit for that first one. And there he manages to get credit for that one and finish it up strong.
Yeah, good way to finish. So next up on floor for Stanford, we should have Marcus Petiranen here. Marcus is on the Finnish national team. Very cool to see international guys competing in the NCAA. I think it's awesome, to bring foreign competition here. I think that only helps and bolster our gymnastics competition. So really cool to see. And so far, 2 great scores for Stanford on floor. Cooper Kim with a 13.8 and June Iwe with a 13.6. And a nice stick there on that first pass for Marcus. Good. We had a term that we used colloquially. If you stuck every pass in your floor routine, we call that a golden sombrero. And he might have missed the second one, so maybe we still can get a silver sombrero here.
Yeah, I've had a few silver sombreros, but still working on that golden sombrero in competition this year, hopefully.
Yes, it's a highly coveted achievement. And dismount here for Marcus. That double pike dismount. Oh, and landing a little bit short. Not sure if he touched his hands to the ground. But I think as long as he didn't put complete pressure on the ground, it shouldn't count as a fall. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dylan.
Yeah, right there, it will definitely be questionable. Just depends on how much support he had down. But they may end up going with a fall there just because the weight of both hands was on the ground there. And now we have our third guy for Cal here, Harry Kim, starting off with really nice swing on the flop work as well going into these travels. And he manages to pull that dismount around and get the full E. That was a really nice routine with pretty decent start value as well there. So that's going to be a really good score for Cal, bouncing back there.
And as we said on floor, how we have our 4 element groups on Pommel horse. I believe we have our 4 element groups, correct me if I'm wrong, Dylan, but we have our scissor work, we have our travels, we have our circles on one pommel and Russians and flares, and dismount is the 4th group.
Yep, yeah, that is correct. And typically you'll see most guys start the routine with the scissor before they pick up into either travel or circle skills as well.
Mm-hmm. Right now we have 5th year Nick Kubler on the floor. Really awesome to see Nick out here competing. Always a big fan of his gymnastics. Very nice, folded double front. Just a small little hop there. Unlike the women who have music with to accompany their floor routines, men do not. But we still show artistry through our transitions and non-acrobatic work, and I think Nick here is a great example of good artistic gymnastics. pass to go here in this floor routine. And a great stick there. Although you can't see it, the judge usually raises a green flag to signify that the athlete stuck the landing. And as part of the rules, they should get a 1/10 bonus for that stuck landing.
Yeah, and next up we have Jasper Smith-Gordon here on Pommel. He is a fifth-year senior, actually, and a really key gymnast on this Cal team. As you can see, some really strong flaps sequence there and nice travels on the Magyar and Salvato. A nice dismount there, you know.
Very clean.
Kept it very
routine.
clean, yep.
As you can see, he's very excited, pumped up for his Cal team.
Yeah, Cal's gonna like that one.
So, as you can see here, we have one more gymnast getting ready to compete, David Shama, who we saw on Pommel Horse. I mentioned earlier how we have 4 up, 4 count format. However, you can't put a 5th guy to not count towards the team score, but for an individual all-around score, as I assume is in this case.
Yeah, I believe you'd be correct. And although at the beginning of the season now, you know, maybe not as many guys doing the full all-around, but it'll count towards the overall average for David here for his all-around, you know, just for end-of-season awards as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you might not see the hardest, or shall I say, the strongest lineups put by these teams. If they have really good athletes, they might want to rest them now and kind of save them till later in the season so they don't get burned out so early. So we'll see lineups change throughout the season, but really good for guys who are or jumping at the bit to get in the lineup to get an opportunity to compete here. Very nice. That's what we call a double Arabian in the pike position with a half out at the end. Unique and difficult. And this is that non-acrobatic pommel horse looking skill. As Dylan mentioned, that was a Russian circle. And another unique non-acrobatic skill, what we call a mana, when you get your legs completely parallel with the floor, inverted like that. And for his dismount here, very nice. Double Arabian in the tuck position with a half, little hop on the landing. Overall, great routine and a good finish to the floor lineup for Stanford.
Yeah, and even though that routine won't count towards their team score, I mean, it's still a really strong floor routine, and you know, it looks like he could be contending for that floor lineup as well.
Definitely, yeah. So right here we just have an event summary of the last event that we just saw. As you can see here, the 4 scores for those counting for the team. 13-9 from Nick Kubler, topping off Stanford's floor, and a 13-5-5 for Cal from Jasper Smith-Gordon. So right now we'll have a switch in the events. We'll have Stanford go to the vault, and Cal will continue in Olympic order, and we'll go to rings next. So I know, Dylan, you mentioned you're currently a gymnast on the Illinois team. When's your guys' first meet, and how are you guys doing as a team? How's preparation looking?
Yeah, our first meet is coming up next weekend in Columbus, Ohio, where we'll be going against Michigan, Greenville, and Ohio State. Overall, we're looking really good. I think just for this first meet, we're really just trying to almost, get the jitters out and just, get some new guys in our lineup. We have some really strong incoming guys with a freshman, as well as a transfer from the University of Springfield, Sam Kaplan. And I think these guys are going to be really essential to our lineup. We're just, trying to prepare and put out the best lineup we can early on, while still keeping the main goal of end of season in mind, and just trying to keep guys healthy and produce, our best work when it matters.
Yeah, awesome. It's cool that you had the one transfer coming in from Springfield. I know that's always a big talk in college sports, with people entering the transfer portal and going to another school, usually for monetary purposes. I feel like you don't see that much in gymnastics. I don't know if you can comment on that at all, Dylan.
Yeah, I think recently the transfer portal is being utilized a little bit more in gymnastics. Unfortunately, in the last few years, men's gymnastics has lost some programs with Iowa and Minnesota, and so due to that kind of started a bit of a wave of transfers and guys transferring, and I think that kind of opened the door to other athletes as well to enter that transfer portal, and it can be huge for some teams and some guys where maybe they don't have a roster spot for the next year at their current university, and so and they're a really good gymnast, and so they'll look where there's maybe an open spot somewhere else and can contribute, even if it's just for a year or two to finish out their degree.
Yeah, awesome. But I feel like regardless of people transferring, gymnastics is a pretty close-knit community. There's only maybe 15 programs in the country, and everyone knows each other, and I always had friends that were at Illinois or Cal, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, wherever, and you're on different teams competing against each other, but then you go to meets, you compete against them, but you see them, and you get along just fine. And I think that's something really cool about gymnastics that you may not always see in other sports.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe we don't have exactly a huge NIL pool like some of the other sports do, but like you were saying, we do have that close connection where kind of everyone knows everyone, and we all build each other up, because at the end of the day, we want people to see our sport and just push it out there no matter what. So even though we stay competitive with each other, at the end of the day, we will do whatever it takes to really push out our sport. And a lot of times that means even coming together with different athletes from different universities, just trying to promote as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, all super good points there. So we have our athletes in their 2-minute touch warm-up. All the athletes, they get a dedicated warm-up before the competition starts to kind of, get warm, touch all the events, and then when the competition starts, you always get 2 minutes right before to touch the equipment again and situate yourself before the competition actually starts.
Yeah, and on vault, actually, there's a 2-touch rule, unlike some of the events where, as long as you still have time left, you can take 2 vaults. But that includes, if you just stand up on the table and do a front flip off, that counts as one of your touches, and you only get 1 more. So you do have to be, aware of that. But you do get to, if time allows it.
So you couldn't do the front flip off and then 2 vaults?
No, you cannot.
I wasn't aware.
But, I mean, if you want to do a front flip off and that is going to help you, then I guess you can do that.
Sure.
And so first up here on rings is going to be Nathan Underhill. He is a freshman, and I think he is going to be a key part of this Cal team. He was highly recruited in high school, and he is competing rings and vault today, so definitely look out for him. Oh, and Nathan gets things started with an uprise to a Maltese position. Really difficult strength move there, and then goes into a bounce cross. So right there, he fulfills his 2 element groups there with a D. You have to have at least a D to get the full element group. And on rings, you have your swing skills, and then you have your swing to strength, and your dismount. And right there, he does a really nice double dismount with a hop back, but really strong skills there and good routine.
Yeah, great routine for freshman. And first up for Stanford on vault, we have Wade Nelson, sophomore. Oh, and we got a nice stick to start us off. That was a Kasamatsu with 1.5, or a Sukahara with a 2.5 twist, and performed it very well with that stick in the landing, and you saw the judge raise that green flag. Vault generally being one of the harder events to stick because you fly so much higher and you have a lot of speed going into it. But great vault for the sophomore.
Yeah, absolutely. And usually that vault starts from a 14.8, but with that stick, you'll get an extra 10th, so 14.9. So expect a pretty high score coming from Wade there.
Rings here we generally call the strongman event. We were talking about body types earlier, and the ring guys are generally a little shorter than you see on Pommel horse, and a lot of strength, as you will see, in order to perform these strength skills.
Let's go, Cardi. You got this.
And next up for Cal, we have Carter Kim.
Get it big, all you. Let's go now, come on. Yeah.
Starts things off with an uprise to straight planche there.
Beautiful. Come on. Yeah. Let's go, Cardi. Let's go now.
Really strong handstand there out of the front giant, as well as there in the back giant. Oh, and a big double dismount. Just hop backwards there, but a really clean routine overall.
Great to see. A lot of difficulty coming out of Cal, keeping Stanford on their toes here. And now as we see June Eway Oh, and almost a stick there. Another Sukar with a 2.5 twist. Very well done. You'll see, as Dylan mentioned, 14.8 star value. That's probably one of the more difficult, common vaults you'll see. You'll see a lot of people do that same round-off entry where they go half on the table and then go off with a twist.
Yeah, and as you can see there on that vault, June on the entry to that vault keeps his feet together, which is something that the judges look for, and he's really good at doing that. So it's honestly really hard to take deductions on his vault. So even with a hop there, like, he will probably still have a really strong score. And next up on rings, we have Matteo Bardana. Good cross there. Another one from a back uprise. Rings generally is probably the hardest event to build start value on. You know, I would say for honestly every team, it's just harder to get the element group requirements, and just the skills themselves aren't rated as highly as some of the other events. So it can be a huge swing, especially in head-to-head. And a really nice routine there. Hop back on the double-double.
We're moving things right along here. We have Cooper Kim already up next on the vault, and 2 good scores from Stanford so far, with a 14.2 from Wade and a 14 from June. Oh, unfortunate fall for Cooper. He was performing that same vault that we saw from Wade in June, but as you could see from his landing, was a little bit too much leaning towards that left side. Didn't quite get his feet under him as well as he'd like.
And next up on rings, we have Jackson Mitchell. Jackson is a junior and has competed a lot over his college career so far, and is really strong on rings, as you're going to see here.
I was personally never much of a ring guy. I was more Pommel horse, high bar, P bars. I like to make the excuse because of my bad body proportions.
Yeah, I could say the same. I think I dropped rings in college about 2 weeks in, so not my event, but definitely exciting to watch.
Oh, yes.
Let's go, Jax. You got this. Come on. Let's go now. Go, Jax. Show it off, Jax. Let's go. Let's go, Jax. Go, Jax. Come on. Oh, yeah.
Really good position there on the uprise planche, and then he lowers into the Maltese, which is extremely difficult there. Good adjustment there on that back giant.
And that's a bonus there.
Yes, and a really nice double-double there. And yeah, as you were saying, bonus because he did his Yamawaki there up into the front giant, which upgrades the value of the Yamawaki itself.
We have our anchor here on vault, David Shama. In the all-around tonight. All right, and slightly different vault that we saw from the first 3. unfortunate hands down, so he will have to take a fall on that vault, but I thought it was very well executed in the air, a lot of height there.
Yeah, he definitely had the power, just a little bit over-rotated there. And just to clarify on the hands down there, usually if the gymnast just kind of brushes the ground or barely doesn't put any pressure on it, that's when they will just receive a 5/10 deduction. But it's when they put full pressure onto the mat or the floor, that is when the full 1 point will be taken.
And already halfway through the meet, things are moving along here, and it looks like we have our standings here for this third event. Stanford on vault. We saw with those first two 2.5 twisting vaults, the 14-2 and the 14, very well done. And then looking over at Cal on rings, with Jackson Mitchell finishing off with that 13.05 to close off Cal's ring lineup. Very well done there.
And so, David, you were a gymnast at Stanford. What can you tell everyone about kind of that process getting into lineup? For you, at least, while you were there?
Yeah, everyone who trained the event was good and had the potential of getting into the lineup. I'd say we had, at least 10 people on each event trying to get in, and that only made everyone who actually was in the lineup stronger. You had the guys who were just outside pushing the guys who were in, and honestly there was a constant pressure because you want to keep your spot in the lineup. If you were that fourth, fifth guy, you felt the pressure to keep going to the meets, hitting, showing up, so that you could keep your spot because you knew that someone behind you was ready to go. And also, if for some reason you were sick or had a small injury and you felt that it was, you weren't able to perform to the best, I always, at least for me, I always knew that if I wasn't able to compete, that someone could take my spot because we did have that 6th, 7th, 8th guy ready to go. So, it was tough making the lineups, but also a good thing because we had the ability to put up guys and we had trust in them knowing that they would do a good job.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things our coaches at Illinois always tell us is that if you're not in lineup, pretend like you are, because at any moment you can be thrown into that lineup, whether there's an illness or an injury. Like, everyone is fighting for those lineup spots. So even if you think you're not in lineup, you very well can be put in very last minute. It's happened a few times to me and guys on the team. It happens every year.
Yeah. Great point. I've seen it myself also multiple times. And one, example that I always like to give was in 2019 NCAAs, where we ended up Stanford started their winning streak. One of my good friends and teammates, Ryan Shepard, came down with something, some illness, and had to take himself out halfway through the meet. He was supposed to do all around, but we all felt sad for Ryan because we know that he really wanted it. But at the same time, we had guys that were ready to go and were able to fill in, and ultimately we came out that NCAA's on top. So very emotional, and just comes to show that it isn't just any one person. It is a true team effort.
Yeah, 100%. You never know what's going to happen, even on meet day. So
So as you can see on the bottom of your screen here, halfway through the meet, Stanford is posting a 162.9 over Cal with a 152.6. It's about a 10-point deficit. To put that into perspective for people watching, a fall on or off the apparatus is 1 point of a deduction. So to put that in perspective, I guess that difference of 10 points would be like 10 falls, you could think of it.
Yeah, and one thing to mention, though, is that Cal does have vault, which is typically a higher scoring event, so they may be able to make up a few points, though, on this next rotation.
Definitely. And we're turning over to rings where we have Dino Roberts, a freshman, starting us off on Stanford. I actually helped coach Dino when he was on the club team at Stanford when I was there training. So it's pretty cool to see him now competing there for the team. And very strong at that. Very well done. 2 Malteses in this routine. And a very nice handstand position as well, which is key to a good ringsman. And a good stick to finish there for Dino. All the Stanford guys excited.
Yeah, that was a big routine, especially from a freshman there. 4 huge strength skills in that routine. And first up on vault for Cal is Harry Kim. A bit of a step to the side there. That one didn't see from Stanford, but that was a double twist there. So we'll start from a 14.4, just a little lower than some of the vaults shown from Stanford, but really clean in the air. So a good, strong first vault.
As you guys are watching these routines, you'll hear the teammates in the background cheering the guys on, and they'll give them cues throughout their routines too, you know, such as to breathe. That's probably one of the most common ones, just to, you know, keep the cue to the athlete to, you know, remember to take a breath, or to work at a certain part of the routine a little harder. I always appreciated that from the team and that encouragement.
Yeah, and that encouragement from teammates can really help kind of block out other noise and kind of help you get rid of some of those nerves that are overtaking you. It's really helpful when you got your whole team behind you.
Totally. And Dino posted a 12.95 to start off, and we'll see Nick Kubler here. Similar start to Dino. He does that straight planche, lower down into the Maltese. Same thing we saw from Jackson Mitchell as well. A very good handstand position. And just the dismount to go here. Overall, super clean routine with the stick. Great one from Nick there.
Yeah, another big routine from Stanford there on rings. And next up on vault, we have freshman Nathan Underhill looking to build off of his really strong start on rings. Wow, really clean 2.5 twists there. That 2.5 you saw from each of Stanford's guys, but done really well. Just a little hot back, and another strong performance from the freshman.
Yeah, very well done. Nice, clean form in the air. Just that slight little hop. That's going to score well. So we were talking a little bit about teammates and cheering. Were there any exercises you guys do at Illinois to kind of prepare for that, or maybe try to throw each other off while you're in the middle of a routine?
Yeah, we call them pressure sets. Doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes, especially during competition season, we'll blast some crazy music on the speakers and everyone will be going crazy, or for some sets we'll even just have everyone go like super silent just to kind of throw you off. So do different things just to help you for any environment, because truly each arena and place you go is going to be a little different. Some fans a little bit crazier. When you go to NCAAs, it's loud the entire time with all the teams competing. But at some meets where it's just a dual meet, it's a little bit quieter. So you really have to prepare for anything. So we kind of try to throw each other off by doing stuff sometimes, and that can help for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Every place is different, so you got to be prepared for all kinds of circumstances. All right, third up here on rings, we got Arun Chetri, senior. Another uprise to the Maltese position. And a second. Very nice. Every strength skill on rings, we like to see it needs to be held at least 2 seconds. Anything shorter than that incurs, I believe, a 3/10 deduction. That's why we shoot for 3 seconds in our head to know that we achieved that 2 seconds for the judges. And a laid out, half in, half out from Arun with a tiny hop on the landing. Overall, very good routine.
Yeah, and next up on vault, we have Kalen Curry. You saw him earlier on floor with really difficult routine, so we'll see what he's putting up here on vault. Wow, and a really high, clean 2.5 there. Another really good vault. Just a small step to the left there. Can't fully tell if he was going out of bounds, but I didn't see the flag from the judge, so I think he stayed in. So will save himself a 10th there, but a really nice vault.
As you could tell, he was very excited by that as well.
You can see that score from Nick Kubler there on that ring routine, 13-9.
Oh, wow.
That is a really big score on rings.
And as we mentioned before, a lot of that coming from execution. So 10 points of the execution score being out of a 10, we try to get that only within a point deduction. All right, we want to minimize the amount of deductions we have, and then we add the difficulty to that. So I'm not sure what Nick's star value was, but his routine was definitely very clean. And the last score counting for the team for Stanford on rings will be Reese Landsberger. Reese is a junior. Very unique mount there. That was a slow in-locate to a kip to a Maltese. Maybe a hair shy on the hold there, but hitting great positions. And a little bobble there in the handstand. We like to see those perform with straight arms. And that takes a lot of strength right there. And a good dismount for Reese. Nice high flying, double twisting, double tuck. I think he should be very happy with that performance.
Yeah, another jam-packed routine there from Stanford. They've got a lot of strength going for them. And wrapping things up on vault, we have Jasper Smith-Gordon. And wow, another really clean 2.5. Step forward there, but that was 3 really nice 2.5s in a row from Cal.
Yeah, very clean. Cal really bringing the performance today on vault.
Yeah, and as you can see, 2 scores in the 14s there, and probably another one coming for that vault. So even though Stanford is doing really well on rings, you can see vault is a higher scoring event, and they can make up some of those points there.
And we're just waiting for Reese's score to come in for the team. And we'll have David Shama in the 5th spot for the all-around spot. 12-7 just came in for Reese. Good straight plunge there for his strength skill. Now we get those swinging elements right to the handstand. And just the dismount here. Same dismount we saw from Arun with just a small hop forward. Good routine for David.
Yeah, another clean routine from the all-around spot. He's putting together a really nice all-around showing so far.
Totally. And so we have scores here after 4 events. You can see that the lead from Stanford got a little bit narrower after this event. As Dylan was saying, the scores are a little bit higher on vault comparatively to rings. So now with Cal at 207.8 and Stanford at 215.35, that lead shrinking to about 7.5 points. But turning to the 4th event scores for Cal on vault, Jasper Smith-Gordon with that beautiful 2.5 and a well-deserved 14.2, I believe, ties for first on that event. And for Stanford on rings, as we mentioned before, that 13.9 massive score from Nick Kubler.
And rings, you can see some of these scores, although 3 scores in the 12s there from Stanford. Rings is one of those events that the scores definitely go up as the season goes along. Guys, get lock in those strength holds. You see, guys holding their positions longer as the season goes. They're just getting stronger, more comfortable, and knowing exactly how long they need to hold everything. And you'll see, some of these same routines will really improve as the season goes on.
Yeah, totally. This first meet, all about getting the jitters out. First meet of the season, putting up lineups, see who's good at competing under pressure. And, as the season goes on, like Dylan said, we'll just see them getting cleaner, see who stays in the lineup, what lineups switch up. I'm overall super impressed so far with Cal and Stanford, with the scores that they're putting up and the routines that we're seeing. Like we said, maybe we don't have the strongest athletes up on each event, but the ones competing here today are doing a phenomenal job performing. So Dylan, tell me, what events do you normally compete, or what events should we hopefully see you competing on this year?
So last year competed on floor, vault, and parallel bars, and then I'm trying to get in as well on high bar this year. Hopefully seeing some upgraded routines this year, so looking forward to competing in our first meet hopefully next weekend.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite?
Favorite event right now is definitely parallel bars. It kind of bounces back and forth between P-bars and high bar, but I really like competing parallel bars. For me, it's like the event that I feel the least nervous competing, and I just get out there and do my thing. I do a lot of underbar skills, so for me, I feel like my routine just kind of flows along, and I really like that.
Nice. Yeah, we would definitely get along. I was a P-bar, high bar guy as well.
Yeah, and you'll see some of these routines coming up. Some guys specialize more in some of those upper bar skills, like your Diamidovs and your Healy type elements, and then other guys will have a routine full of the underbar or long hang skills, where they have the peach style elements and the giants, to pelt, bobstar, all those type of skills. Obviously, there's guys who do both, and those are typically the best guys. But you'll see some guys will definitely have their specialties with P-bars there.
Yeah, let's. We were talking about element groups earlier on the other events, so you kind of alluded a little bit to it on P-bars. So, what would those be there?
Yeah, so you have 4 element groups on parallel bars. You got your upper arm skills, which are front uprise and whippet style elements. Typically, you'll see some guys kind of start their routine with a whippet skill, as well as some front upright skills in there, and then you have your upper bar skills, and then you got your long hang skills, and then your dismount. And so for each event, element groups 2 and 3, which for P-bars would be your long hang and your upper bar skills, you have to have a D to get the full element group value. Whereas for element group like 1, which would be your like front uprise style element group, you don't have to have that D. So it's just element groups 2 and 3 on each event that have to have that D, which is a new requirement with the 8 skills.
Interesting. Right out here in front of the Cal broadcast, we have assistant coach Carl Zine. Carl was the assistant coach when I was on the Stanford team, interestingly, but right now he's coaching back at his alma mater at the University of California.
And this is the first matchup of the season, obviously, between Cal and Stanford, but typically they will face each other multiple times throughout the season, due to being conference and just being so close to each other.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We always competed with Cal just because it was so easy, 30, 60-minute bus ride up across the bay, whereas all the next closest competitor to us was Air Force, then Oklahoma. So definitely an easy trip.
And first up on PRs, we have David Comparin. Saw him earlier on the Pommel horse. He starts out with 2 long hang skills there and a little bit of an error on the Tapelt there. Just sat down his leg there, so he will unfortunately lose a full point on that skill. But then he brings it back with his upper bar skills and a nice double front dismount. Just a little bit of a step back there. So unfortunate error at the beginning there, but kept it short and just got through that routine.
Yeah, good way to, salvage and try to minimize those deductions. First up for Stanford on the high bar, we have 5th year Nick Kubler. Jam with a half turn. We're about to see some high flying release. That there's a Cassine, a very difficult skill. And the same skill that we just saw in the tuck position, called a Coleman. Oh, unfortunate miss there on the straddle Tkachev. Always a bummer when you hit your most difficult skills and then a skill that's in your back pocket and you miss that one. That always hurts a little bit. And it looks like the coaches had Nick repeat that straddle Tkachev element. Had he not repeated it, he wouldn't have gotten credit for the fall that he did earlier. So good to see him get back up there, finish it, and hit that routine with minimal deductions and a stuck landing. Good job for Nick.
And over on the left, you can see Troy Nueska on P-bars. It's very clean underbar work there and a nice Diam and a quarter. And a nice double pike dismount there. Just a little bit of a small shuffle back, but really nice routine for Cal there. And as you were talking about earlier with Nick repeating his Tkachev on high bar there, that's something that as the season goes on, you'll see kind of change. Sometimes with a fall, you'll see that the coaches will, want the guy to repeat the skill, and it could depend on how difficult the skill is as well. If an athlete misses a really important skill in the routine, they'll want to repeat that if they feel comfortable enough to do so, because they'll get a big chunk of points back. But if it's just a kind of minimal skill, or if the athlete doesn't feel comfortable after that first fall, then you'll see them kind of just move on with their routine. So that is usually between the athlete and the coach there, depending on if they're going to repeat the skill or not.
Yeah, definitely. And from personal experience, I know Tom at Stanford, he always told us to generally repeat it. He likes to see us kind of reset, regroup, and finish the routine strong. But like you said, it's between coach and the athlete and subject to change as the season goes on. And I believe it's first time we're seeing Zach Green here. High bar, one of his specialty events. Zach was also a gymnast at the Stanford club team that I helped coach. And a very high-flying Cassina there. And now the Coleman, just like we saw from Nick. And these are unique ones here, German giants. You don't see all that many people do, but a great way to boost up that difficulty. And a triple back somersault to finish that routine. Very difficult routine from Zach.
Yeah, that was a really nice routine there, and you could see Nick's score coming in at 13.25, which with a fall is still a really good score there. And third up here on parallel bars for Cal is Kyan Orion, who is actually a transfer from Stanford, just transferred in after last year, so looking to make his Cal debut here. He starts things off with a unique peach handstand facing out on the end there. Very clean upper bar skills here. Little hand step there, though. Just a little bit low on that double front there, but manages to stay on his feet, and another well done routine there from Cal.
Yeah, good job to Kyan there on that routine. Big fan of that peach facing outward mount. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And on P-bars, the big focus now is those hand steps. So typically when the athlete is a little off balance, they'll take a hand step, but even the judges are looking at just simple hand openings and taking tenths for that. They're really cracking down on that deduction. So it's another thing to look out for if you see a routine that looked really good, but it just had a lot of hand openings or shifts, and the score is not as good. Usually that could be a big reason why.
Yeah, definitely something that can be easily fixed by just focusing on something as simple as reducing the number of hand movements. That's a tenth each time, easy way to save points. Now we're about to see Wade Nelson of Stanford on the high bar. And a mount that I actually did, he did that jam half from the beginning, which you don't see very often. Oh, and just missed his hand there on that Coleman. Whenever the athlete takes a fall from the event, they have 30 seconds to mount the event again, or else they'll incur a neutral deduction. We'll see now if they're going to make Wade repeat this Coleman. And it looks like they are, as I suspected. Ooh. And he's pushing through this routine. He's got just a couple more skills here. And taking a fall there on that dismount too. A little bit of a struggle there for Wade. Got through the routine. Definitely
unfortunately,
learning experience for him there.
Yeah, unfortunately, once you get past that first fall, it only gets harder when you gotta keep fighting through that routine on high bar endurance-wise. And last up on P bars, we got Tucker Yasunaga. Bit of an arm bend there on the peach handstand. Saves the handstand there on the Makuts. Really clean so far. Big hop forward on that double pike, but really clean routine. A few little things in there, but nice overall.
So one slight difference we have between men's and women's gymnastics. Women, they put up 6 people on the event and 5 scores count. So they actually have the ability to drop a score. So only 5 scores count for the team. On the men's side, we only have 4 up competing, but then all 4 scores count towards the team score. So in these types of situations, that's why it's so important when if you do fall, to save every 10th from that point on, and try, to be as clean as you can. And last score for the team here is Cooper Kim. Got to see a very cool combination here. And he manages to stay on the bar. I believe he should get credit for that. But very unique combo there, the jam full twist to the Winkler. And another Coleman. Just the dismount here. And way to finish strong for Cooper.
Yeah, really difficult routine there. He manages to stay on coming out of that Winkler release, and even though one hand came off in the front, he did have full control, and he stayed on the bar. So yeah, he will receive credit for that, and as well as the connection there coming out of the talk full.
I believe all the Cal guys have gone on parallel bars, so we're just going to wait for the judges to get Cooper's score in, and then we'll move on to that all-around spot from David.
And high bar is just one of those events that I think there's been the most changes on. A lot of the releases have been upgraded on high bar, so you'll see a lot of guys pushing some of those new releases. One of them that Cooper just did there with the Winkler, but that has been a major change as well, just getting some of those upgrades in. And it really changes the style of routines that guys do when they're going for these new G-rated skills.
I know you mentioned earlier something with the dismount and the rule changes that have taken place, but I know that with this new code of points, they were incentivizing harder dismounts by matching the element group points to the value of the skill. So as we saw, that triple back from Zach Green, harder dismount, a little riskier, but for hopefully more reward. And a good 13.45 for Cooper Kim. Now we have David Shama. That release at the beginning, we call that a Yamawaki. And again, these German giants, like we saw from Zach Green, very nice, opened up to the handstand. That's difficult. Short and sweet, but very clean. Slight hop there on the landing, but overall, well done for David in the all-around spot. So as we're getting into this last event here, if you want to touch up on what those element groups are on high bar.
Yeah, so on high bar, you're going to have your in-bar elements, which is like your jams and your half talks, your endos, your stalders. And then you got your release elements, which you saw a lot of out of Stanford, which are those big Casinas, Colemans. You got your Tkachevs, your Winklers, a lot of different types of releases there. And then you just have your kind of giant skills, long hangs, which you see a lot of guys doing quas type elements, which is like a hop full over the bar. There's definitely less options with that element group, but luckily that is not one of the ones you need a D for to get full credit. And then lastly, just the dismount element group.
Awesome. And you may see as the athletes are getting ready for their event, there's a lot of prep work that goes into the equipment. On the high bar, you'll see the coaches, they may be loosening or tightening the cables to the athlete's liking. A tighter bar means a faster bar, and a looser bar generally we call it a slower bar. And on parallel bars, you have the guys over there that are chalking up the bars and trying to make the best grip that they can for those long hang skills. We generally like to use a mix of whatever is sticky, generally honey or sugar water mixed with the chalk. Everyone has their own preference and liking to how they like their bars. I don't know how are you are Dylan with that.
Yeah, actually, I'm not super picky about the bars themselves. I definitely use honey and chalk on my hands, but I've got some teammates who are very particular about the bar and like things like the bar a little bit drier or with a little bit more water or honey. For me, I'm kind of just like set the bar and I'll just go on it. I don't like to be too particular. I think it throws my mental off if I'm worried about the bar. But definitely, I would say most guys, have a certain grip that they like, and you don't got a lot of time to set it, so you got to be really, you almost have to practice that. We practice that in the gym, during practice inner squats, just going up, having the team set the bars and put the chalk on there and honey the bars up, because that's seriously something that is important when it comes, down to, competition.
Totally, yeah. And, being able to compete on whatever bar and whatever condition, I think that's important. I've had meets where I've gone and the guy before me stripped down the bars to nothing, and then I had to build it back up. And, it's all stuff that you you learn and you practice in practice before getting to the meet.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for high bar they use what's called like a tension gauge that they put on the wire, and that's how they can tell. It's, usually a number will show up for where the tension is on the bar, and each team and athlete likes it differently. Like I know, our bar in our gym is generally on the tighter side, so we kind of have to adjust for that. Some guys like it a bit looser.
Yeah, I was definitely more on the tighter side as well. And talking about the honey on P-bars, it made me think of another former Stanford gymnast and well-known in the gymnastics community for putting out funny videos on Instagram and also knowledgeable videos too. Ian Gunther, he has a series of videos where he's testing out different things on the P-bars that other athletes might use, such as like pine tar in baseball and other things, which I find humorous.
Yeah, definitely. And like I would say generally honey is like the most common, but there's some guys who use other stuff like different types of syrups and other things. Kind of just depends on what you like. And so kind of looking forward into the season, typically within the next few weeks, we'll see what we call kind of the Winter Cup qualifier meets. And so usually each team will go to a different Winter Cup qualifier, and some of the guys will try to go through that qualification process. And I know this year, because we just had a World Championships, if you want to qualify as a specialist, you have to have a certain start value on your event, as well as placing top 2 at your qualifier meet. So it's definitely a challenging process, but you're rewarded with being able to compete at Winter Cup with guys who are on the Olympic team, national team, world team. And if you're someone who's never been on that, it can be a really cool experience and a way to try to fight for a national team spot.
Yeah, definitely. And I know the rules for selection for that national team will always change a little bit, but generally they'll take some of the top all-arounders and then some of the top event scoring people. They have this whole point system to kind of determine event specialists, but I think ultimately they have about 15 or so U.S. national team members that they'll take from Winter Cup.
Yeah, and to qualify for Winter Cup as an all-arounder, typically you have to place top 3 in the all-around at your Winter Cup qualifier.
And you were saying for you guys that's in a few weekends?
Yeah, next weekend in Columbus, where you'll see us with Ohio State and Michigan and Greenville. So that'll be definitely an interesting competition to watch. Big, 3 Big Ten teams as well as Greenville. So there'll definitely be some guys trying to qualify to Winter Cup from there.
Awesome. Yeah, I think Rocky Mountain Open is another similar meet like that. I think generally you'll see either Stanford, Cal, Air Force, Oklahoma, or all the above at that one.
Yep.
So now leading us off On the parallel bars from Stanford, we have Kieran Mandava.
Win confidence. Let's go. Rhythm, baby. Good. Yes.
Nice. Each with a half turn to another peach basket.
Come on, Kieran.
Whoa. Little bit of a mistake there on that Healy. Fell down through and had to do a dip swing. And a good way to finish off that routine with the stuck landing. And also good fight on the Healy for not end up coming off the bars, which would have been a much bigger deduction than staying on like he did.
And first up for Cal on high bar, we got Carter Kim. Nice tuck half there, just a little shy of a handstand. Big Kovacs there. Goes right into two Tkachevs there. And a stuck double-double dismount. You can see the green flag go up from the judge. That's going to be a really good start for Cal there.
Yeah, very good. Great releases and good difficult dismount to finish there with the stuck landing. Based on last year's rankings, high bar was the lowest ranked event for Cal. Looking to improve on that this year. But great first routine from Cal.
Come on, Aaron. Wow.
Nice bell there. Unique, something you don't see too often. A lot of unique configuration in this routine. One thing right after the other to the double front dismount and little hop there. But one thing that our coach Tom always stressed, especially on P-bars, but goes for any routine, is having a rhythm to the routine, whatever that may be, as long as it was the same for you and consistent every time you did it.
Yeah, you know, that routine really flowed along, and I've really never seen anyone do a front uprise and then back into a whippet style skill there, especially at the end of a routine. So that was really cool to see. And next up for Cal on high bar, we got Troy Nueska.
How do you handle whenever there's long wait for the judge before you have to get on the equipment?
Yeah, honestly, I kind of just try to focus on breathing, and you know, if I know I have a really long wait, I'll just kind of go through visualizations in my head for my routine, just trying to visualize the set in first person, and then as soon as I'm ready, just hop right up without trying to think about too many other things. So I'm not, my mind's not racing. And next up on high bar. Nice jam there. Good talk half. They're really nice. Laid out half and half out.
Definitely
Super clean
excited.
routine, yeah. Another stuck landing for Cal there. That's 2 in a row. You're building a streak now.
Third up on P-bars for Stanford, we have Zach Green, who we saw on high bar. You can hear his teammates yelling rhythm. Typical giant to the Diamidov. Oh! And that was a fluke mistake there. Attempted a hop half pirouette and just didn't quite get his hand right on the bar. But as we said earlier, with 4 up 4 count, it's important for him and for the coaches to see him able to get up there and try to save every 10th he can. And he was able to do just that.
Yeah, really good routine overall. Obviously, a little mistake there towards the end, but looked like almost just a missed hand placement there. So that routine was really well done other than that, though. And next up on high bar for Cal, we're going to have Jackson Mitchell, who we saw earlier on rings with a really, really strong routine. So let's see what he's got on high bar. Starts things off with a very clean talk half. And a huge laid out Tkachev there. He was like 2 feet above the bar there. That was huge. And another straddle Tkachev there. Got a little bit on the fingertips there, but managed to stay on. Very nice one-arm giant skill there. A few small hops on the double-double, but really nice routine and some good, huge releases in there.
Yeah, definitely some high flying ones there. Like Tim Daggett says, Gymnastics 101. Fly high and stick the landing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cal's 2 for 3 on sticks, so doing pretty well.
And that's definitely one of those fine-tuning things that you'll see teams work on by the end of season, trying to get those sticks in, because that really does make a difference especially from like a 3/10 hop to a 1/10 bonus for sticking. That adds up over
You got it, David.
24 routines.
Go.
Yeah, it can make a huge difference. Just right there with the 3/10 step versus stick. 4/10 per routine. That could really add up.
Go, Sham! Go! Let's go, Sham. You're right, David.
And David Shama is going to close the P-bar lineup for Stanford, starting with a free hip on the side, on the one rail. First time we saw that today. Good giant Diamidov. And difficult upper arm work there. Takes a lot of strength. And overall, great routine, and I'm very impressed with David's performance today in the all-around spot. I think he hit 6 for 6. I could be wrong, but great performances, I thought, overall.
Yeah, really strong all-around showing. I think really only mistake there was back on vault, but other than that, he has been really strong all day long.
That's right. The front handspring double front.
But that P routine, huge difficulty, especially with those front upright skills. Like I was talking about earlier, that group 1, he's one of the only guys, in the country doing those front upright DM and front upright stood skills. And next up on high bar for Cal is Matteo Bardano. Really clean Coleman there. That skill is called a Rebalco. Some nice in-bar and long hang skills. And wow, another stuck landing from Cal. That's 3 for 4 with that double stick there. Really clean routine. Should expect a nice score.
Really promising Cal team. Very excited to see them continue to excel for the rest of the season. I was very impressed watching them today.
Yeah, still waiting on that last score, but depending on what it is, they might finish right around or right below their average from last year, where they were at about average of 310 last year, and for the first meet of the season, that's really good to be scoring pretty close to your average. That's a really strong start and promising for them going forward.
So we're just waiting for last couple scores to come in, but that concludes all 6 events today. Any last minute impressions?
Yeah, I was really impressed with Cal, especially some of their younger guys, their freshmen and sophomore, really making a big impact on the lineup. And I'm not sure if these were entirely their full lineups moving forward this season, but for the first meet, really strong stuff, especially on some promising vaults there. That high bar rotation, 3 out of 4 sticks is huge. I think they have a lot to look forward to for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And then looking at Stanford as well, they had Virtual conclude our last event scores here, just want to highlight Bardana's high bar score there, finishing off Cal with that 13.55, and as well as on P-bars, David Shama finishing off with a high there at 13.75. But looking at the leaderboard, floor exercise, we had Stanford take the top 3 with Nick 14.0, Cooper Kim 13.9, and David Shama 13.7. Same with Pommel horse, Kieran Mandava taking first with a 14.2, then Marcus Kushner with a 13.85, and David Shama with a 13.75. Moving on the rings, Nick Kubler taking the event with a 13.9, and that stick you can see with the green little circle there. Jackson Mitchell squeaking in second with a 13.05, and Dino Roberts with a 12.95. Tie for first on vault, Cal's Jasper Smith-Gordon and Stanford's Wade Nelson, both with a 14.2. Kalen Curry taking the bronze with a 14.05. On parallel bars, David Shama took first with a 13.75, Arun coming in second with a 13.55, and Troy Nuesca of Cal in third with a 13.35. And finally on horizontal bars, Zachary Green of Stanford winning the event with a 14.1, Cooper Kim coming in second with a 13.6, and Mateo Bardana of Cal with a 13.55. So that sums it up. There's the team score there. Stanford, I believe, also near their average from last year. I think maybe slightly under, but a 320.1 to Cal with a 309.7. So as we said, lots of good gymnastics we saw today. Some mistakes here and there, but all things to work on as we go on through this season, and lots of good gymnastics still to come.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's some really exciting routines there that, you know, maybe had a fall or mistake in there, but really high start value that as the season goes on, you know, especially some of those floor routines you saw from like June and Mateo Bardana on floor with some huge skills in there. Like, those are going to be big scores by the time the end of season comes around. And, you know, with Cal scoring just under their average at the first meet of the season, I think that's something to be, you know, really proud of, and something that, you know, they know they can build on. And, you know, they had some mistakes, especially on P-bars, you know, with that being their lowest score of the day. But that's an event where they, you know, in the past have done really well on. And so, you know, if they get that up, I think Cal could be, you know, a big team to look out for. And obviously Stanford as well. You know, 320 first meet of the season is really impressive.
Yeah, and I think with that, we will wrap it up here and conclude our stream. Just wanted to thank everyone who tuned in to listen to us and watch some good gymnastics today.